Welcome to the meeting. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So please call the roll.
Director Thomas,
I'm here.
Director Davidson.
I am here as well. Okay, at this time, we'll entertain any public comment on any unagendized item. Is there any public comment today? Is there anybody online? Okay, we'll move on to approval of minutes for May 6th and July 8th. Have a motion?
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I still believe we can move them.
Let's just put it off till next time.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we'll move on to new business. Introduction of Chase King.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Chase King. He's a new civil engineer with CCWD. He has 11 years experience working for an irrigation agency. So he has a lot of relevant experience. He's local to the area. He's a ratepayer of CCWD. He's a high energy, motivated, and he's eager to contribute to the organization. And I think he's going to be a great fit for us. So I wanted to kind of introduce Chase and give him a chance to talk to the committee.
All right, great. Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome, Chase.
Thank you. Happy to be here at Calaveras County Water District. Everybody here has been very welcoming, and I'm very interested in the projects that are taking place here. That was one of the things that really lured me in to even apply to see if I could to fill the role as an engineer here at the district. All of the treatment plant projects, wastewater, drinking water and wastewater treatment plants. The amount you guys are taking on in such a short time really interested me. So I'm happy to be here to take part in that.
Well, great.
So
Yeah.
Kevin said that you reside in the county. Whose district are you in? So
The board president, Jeff Davidson.
wow.
Great.
Yeah.
I was leading up to that.
Yeah.
No, I've been living in Valley Springs for over 5 years now, and have had family living in Valley Springs for over 20 years.
Okay.
What took you so long to find us?
Well, I was working at Oakdale, so
Oh.
I actually was living in Escalon for some time before that. I had a 12-minute commute to work, but I just enjoyed the hills too much that I had to move further away from work. And now I made my way here. It was meant to be. It was just a long-term, a long road in the process.
Now it takes you 13 minutes to get here.
A little over 20. I'm closer to Jenny Lynn,
Oh,
but it's definitely less than 35 to 40 to get to Oakdale.
okay, well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then, President Davidson, would you mind if we, since Jessica has been kind enough to join us here in person today, skip to 4C and then we can
Sure.
go back to 4B?
All right, we'll move on to the UPUD Emergency Intertie Project. Kevin?
Give the slide. So this is the UPD emergency intertie. So there's a FEMA funded disaster declaration that came out. And we've been working with UPUD on this project for some time to provide a regional emergency intertie that would go down Highway 4 and then cut across country to their water treatment plant. And so the kind of scope was we have to increase the size of our clear well to 1.5 million gallons. We had to upgrade the filters and also the pump station as part of it. So kind of the approach was that we would kind of handle our facilities and then UPD would submit the grant application. Kind of the last minute, kind of decide not to pass up on this grant opportunity and move on and apply under future grant for several reasons. So Jessica's here today to kind of talk about the project more in detail and answer any questions, but I think it's a very beneficial project for both our agencies, you know, for long-term water supply needs to the county.
You have any questions?
We got
Russ?
a little slideshow that we want to show kind of as soon as it comes up. A little out of order, so.
Jess, do you want to address this also, or?
Yeah, we got this.
We do have somebody with a hand up in there. Is that Dave Andrews?
Yeah,
Should we address whatever his concern is before?
yes, we can.
Dave, are you, I can't really see that well, but are you muted? You ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Let's hear it.
Okay, I just wanted an explanation of the project. Let you know I'm the interim GM at the Utica Water and Power Authority. Just got hired a month and a half ago. And we haven't heard much about this project. You know, there was no presentation to our board, and the City of Angels Council was not informed on this project. And I understand based on the staff report that there was some ability to also serve them. So I would just like a general overview of what the project involves in terms of the, you know, looking at the initial areas of your intake facilities, your pre-treatment, your clear well expansion, and then pipeline or pipelines, the sizing, distance, you know, just a general overview of the major components so I can get an understanding of what's being proposed here.
Okay,
Yeah, so
hopefully that's what we're gonna have.
Yeah, so the project is basically we have a 4 million gallon a day treatment plant at our Hunters water treatment plant in Avery. So that would be the project in order to complete an emergency intertie, we'd have to upsize the treatment plant by 2 million gallons a day. And that would include a third filter train, a larger clear well for increased chlorine contact time, and then effluent pump station where we'd add another pump. And then the pipeline will most likely tie into the Reach One pipeline that was constructed a few years back, going down Highway 4. Probably around Bryce Station, it would cut into Forest Meadows and then go through the backside of Forest Meadows out to the UPD treatment plant.
All right, Jess, you wanna,
Well,
do we not have a?
Well, I
Go ahead, Dave.
just wondering, talking about pipeline sizes.
Well, the pipeline now, I think it's 12-inch, so I'm not sure we've gotten that far to size the pipe beyond our facilities.
So this is all preliminary action at this time? We're not
Yeah, correct.
building anything right now?
We don't have design yet, so the intent was to put a grant in for a planning funding, so we can actually put together a project. This project has been in discussion, I think, for years between CCWD and UPUD. And we've given a presentation at UPUD's board meeting, and I've been in discussion with the general managers at Utica and the city, you know, throughout this whole process, and so is Michael. We are presenting at Utica next month. So again, we were hoping to get some planning funding with FEMA, but unfortunately there are minimal funds and it sounds like they're not funding planning grants at this time. And in order for us to do it in-house between CCWD's engineering staff and UPUD's consultant, our district engineer with Weber Geo, it would be too much right now and too quick of a turnaround to get funding. So we're looking at other funding sources, but at the same time, we're continuing conversations, and we've definitely had staff level conversations between UPUD, the City of Angels, and CCWD about, how the city could potentially receive water in a time of emergency as well. The biggest driver for UPUD is, of course, what happened with the Darby fire. We were out of, that water source was cut off for 10 months, and we were relying on CCWD water to serve our community. We're also tagged as an at-risk water agency by the state because we do not have a backup water supply system. And so this is definitely something that the state is pushing under SB 552.
And your
So-
water comes in a box.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so again,
Big long box.
this project has been discussed for years, and we've definitely dug deep with historical reports, and our engineers, definitely right after the Darby fire, there's memos that have discussed the need for these interties between all of our agencies. Rebecca Callan, who's the previous city administrator for the City of Angels, discussed, the two of us discussed, it would probably be wise for our agencies to have an intertie together in case something happened to the flume downstream from us, but was still cutting off water to Angels Camp. So the redundancy there is an importance for many reasons. And so that's what this is.
I can remember the chaos after part of that flume burned down. I think I just got here, but did they ever remedy that?
No, that's still a vulnerability.
Because, I remember the City of Angels they were talking about 7-day water supply or something
Yeah.
along those lines. Obviously, if we were gonna look at this, we'll take a look at the big picture thing.
Mhm.
Correct.
But so all you're asking us to do today is to approve us making an application?
I think we already brought this to the board before, or not to the board, to the engineering committee before, as in a presentation, had a preliminary review a couple engineering committees ago. But we were kind of expecting that the grant application was going to go in, so this was carryover from last week's agenda, so.
Okay,
Yeah, as they kind of explained already, that we shifted away from really trying to spend this up quickly and get it in time for the current disaster funding opportunity from FEMA. That is probably not the best fit for this. So we still want to keep it moving forward as we have for quite some time and pursue other funding sources. So I think it's a great candidate for grant funding. And I think it's good for everybody involved.
okay. Russ, do you have anything?
Nope.
David, do you have anything else? Further?
Yeah, I just want to go on record. UDIC had proposed the lower tunnel tap project back in 2023. And if your manager would have supported that project, that application would have been submitted and would solve all these problems. The tunnel tap project would eliminate 6 miles of a conveyance system and 16 of the 19 flumes that Utica uses to supply water to UPUD. So I'm concerned that you're now pursuing a project that we had a viable solution that your management withdrew support for, so we couldn't submit the project for funding because we would need an easement from you to attach to your facilities there. And now it's being proposed as a 12-inch, potentially 12-inch line. And my feeling is this is not a emergency project. This is an attempt to undermine our current water supply agreement with UPUD, which then would force all the costs of maintenance of that canal on the City of Angels. And so I think it's what should be done here is that the project should be scaled back to probably a 6-inch line with some terminal storage for quote, an emergency, as opposed to providing enough water to supply both their regular consumers or municipal connections and their ag connections, because currently they've had some problems at UPUD with their water quality in their reservoir, and they've been serving the entire community, including ag, with a 10-inch line. So I'm concerned that this project, if you're going to expand your treatment plant and provide all these facilities, you're not going to provide that on an emergency basis. It's going to be provided on a full-term basis. And I don't think there's that much in this project really for CCWD. It's more of a UPUD project. You're already funding this project, the upfront costs for it. And quite frankly, I feel that if you're going for a hazard mitigation grant, some of the estimated buy-in from them will not be there. You know, that 2 MGD Trident filter has been in your master plan for 20 years. So I'm concerned that this project is more than what it's being represented as at this point in time. And I just want to convey that concern to your board. The other thing that I find is that, you know, it was last year, all of the agencies did sign a sort of a resolution in support of what was called the Highway 4 Regional Water Supply Partnership. So I would expect that before you proceed on a grant application for this particular project, that we look at all the potential projects and again, look at the lower tunnel tap project as probably being the most viable to, you know, mitigate any potential problems with those flumes on the Utica system.
Okay. Michael, you want to respond to any of that?
Well, there's a lot there. I think it's unfortunate that anyone would spread, you know, speculative rumors about some ulterior motive here where there's no basis to that. We have no reason to pursue anything or hide anything about what the intent behind this project is, which is to provide, you know, backup water supply to the communities that have, you know, needed it for a long time. It's not accurate to say that CCWD withdrew our support for that application for the tunnel tap. That was not a viable project as it was proposed, and we didn't find out about it until 2 weeks before a construction grant application was due. So we didn't withdraw any support. Utica never sought support until that point, and then neither us nor NCPA were in a position to support that grant effort at the time. So it's not accurate to say that that would have been any further along now than it was if we had acted differently back then. There's a lot of other stuff to go. I think, Dave, maybe you and I should just find a time to meet and talk through this stuff.
All right. I would recommend that as well. Is there anything else? Anything from the public?
I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
The title of this thing is an emergency intertie. Is there anything that resembles an emergency for us to make a decision on this today?
No, it was just informational about the planning that we've been doing.
Okay, well, I remember pretty well the discussion about having the Highway 4 coordinated plan developed, and I think it's in my view, it would be appropriate to dust off that effort and see if the tunnel tap could make sense with if the deficiencies in that application that Michael pointed out could be addressed. I'd just like to hear more about that. Seems like that might be a better way to go.
Yeah, there are scenarios where a second tunnel tap makes sense. There's a lot of challenges with that project that, you know, it's been looked at multiple times before. And, so we haven't taken anything off the table at all.
All right. Okay, so this is just informational, no need
Yes.
from, okay,
That's information.
all right. Okay, well, thank everybody for the comments, and then we'll move on. Are we going back to ADU update?
Yes.
Okay.
So on the ADUs, the state laws have changed significantly since our original policy was enacted for ADUs. Kind of the key changes, there's no capacity fees allowed for ADUs under 750 square feet. The shared service connections must be allowed by default. So that means that the service connections of the main house can be shared with the ADU. Kind of larger ADUs, it's a proportion of the fees, the capacity fees. So if they're ever over 750 square feet, we've have 55% capacity fee that's added to that to the capacity fees for that property.
Kevin, if there's no fee for the first 750, if you go 700 up to 1250, I think is the maximum that you can build. Is that 55% applied to only the incremental increase or the whole 1250?
Above 750, they would be charged 55% of whatever the capacity fee is for that area. So if it's in the lock and tenant Jennings Lane service area, you'll be charged 55% of that fee.
But maybe let me repeat my question. If there's no fee for the first 750,
Yes.
if they go to 1250 square feet, do they pay 55% on the entire 1250 or just the incremental increase?
It's 55% of the capacity fees, it's just a flat rate. So is that what you're asking? So if it's 1,000 square feet, they pay 55%. If it's 1,100 square feet, they pay 55%. And that's in line with our policy now. We charge 55%.
Okay.
And then there's the junior ADUs, which are built within are smaller than 500 square feet. They're also exempt from capacity charges. So our current policies don't align with these new state laws. So we're drafted a policy to clear up the rules on the shared versus separate services. Transparent fees for the ADUs over 750 square feet. And a procedure for upsizing the meter if they need to. So maybe they have a 5/8 inch meter and they put an ADU on and they don't have enough flows. Maybe they have a washer and dryer in one unit, washer and dryer in another, and they don't get enough water flow or that type of thing. They can upsize and pay the capacity fee differences to increase the size of their meter. So I don't know how much detail you want me to go into this policy, but I can answer any questions you have about it.
You have any?
So there's no break at all proposed on the increase in the meter size. It might cost.
Yeah, so if they go from a 5/8 to a like a 1 inch meter, I think it's like a 1.5 multiplier. So it would be, I think that's 50% more, right? Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. So and maybe they go to an 1.5 inch meter. There's a capacity fee per meter size that we have. And then if they need to upsize the service line, there'd be cost for our construction crew to do that work. The other caveat is if in some areas we have the step systems that have a septic tank. So if they build a detached ADU in an area that has septic tanks, they would have to pay for a separate septic tank to be installed.
Okay.
And a new service line.
But I've been hearing a couple complaints up Vista Lago. A friend of mine's got a place there, been doing some landscaping and stuff on. he says he basically has to coordinate with his neighbor on irrigation, and that kind of surprised me. But you think that's just a 5/8 meter problem that,
Some of those have a service line that splits at before the meter, so that could be an issue.
is
Potentially,
that something that we go out and fix if somebody calls us about it, or what do we do about that?
not generally, that's just kind of how a lot of our systems are now. So they're kind of, 5/8, the flow's at 5/8 meters, not very much. I think it's like 20 gallons per minute.
Well, but it would seem to me that if they're, independently, they work fine. It's the combination of the two. So it sounds like our part is deficient.
I have that problem in my house in Arnold, same thing. We have a split service with my neighbor, so it's all over the place and
What if you don't get along with your neighbor?
yeah. I don't know, it's just we usually have it's like a 3/4 inch line going to 5/8 meter, so you have a little bit, you should have enough for normal use.
So on these
If you have large irrigation, it might be a problem.
so on these ADUs, we will upsize their meter, or we're gonna charge them for that?
Normally they would share the meter, it's a state law that they'd have to share it. But if they want to upsize or they want a separate service line, we can accommodate them. There's just the extra cost.
What, didn't we have a fire code, fire flow modification?
We do, yeah, allow us, well, go ahead, Kevin, sorry.
Yeah, so the ADUs, if your main house doesn't have fire sprinklers, you're not required to put fire sprinklers in the ADU. So most of the houses that are putting ADUs in don't have fire sprinklers in their main house and they're not putting in the ADU. So that's not really going to apply to.
Well, we will charge them a certain amount to put a 1-inch meter in.
For new construction, if fire sprinklers are required and a 1-inch meter is required to meet that flow, we will allow it at the same cost as a 5/8 inch meter. I think that's the change.
But to switch out, if somebody voluntarily wants to do it, then they go, because I thought that was the whole point that we made, as long as it was still single family residence, the meter doesn't make them use more water.
If it's required for fire flow. Right, we would still monitor the flow. That's right.
Okay. You have anything else?
Nope.
All right, so you want us to let you bring this to the board?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
so I have to run it by legal and then if there's any small changes. we'll-
so is there anything you need from us today?
No, just I wanted you guys to see it first and make comments if there's anything before it goes to the board.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're at AB water transmission line project update.
Good afternoon, directors. My name is Juan, and I'm here to give a construction update on the Ginny Neto B. Also online is Jared. He's a construction inspector for the project. I believe he's on site right now, and he might be joining us for a little bit. So. I'll start by giving a plan view of the project progress. So here we can see in the profile of the main line that we have, the red is pipeline that has been completed, it's been installed. We roughly have like around 92% of the project of the main line installed. You can see at the A tank, which is to the left, it's like 1% left, just a tie up. It's 168 feet that we have left to do over there. And then on to the right, we started the progress actually from B tank down on Wind River Road, which is really narrow. With that said, we still have quite a bit of work ahead of us since we have a couple concrete balls that we need to install And then the connection of the PRVs and testing, plus the service lines, 210 service lines will be coming up, plus the paving that I'm going to talk about in the later slide. I'm going to start off with a positive note. We finished Usher Drive. That's roughly like 2,800 feet that we did not encounter any rock, believe it or not. I think there was one big boulder, but outside of that, there was no rock on the trench. So if you can see, the cutting of the asphalt is very clean, and that's been pretty smooth. Now we are at Wind River Court, and in the image that you have in front of you, you can see that it's pretty steep, and it's also a one-lane road. So we held a construction town hall meeting with the residents of Green River, since it's a one-lane road. And we included the Calaveras County Office of Emergency Services and DA Woods, the contractor, and us, the district. We went over like emergencies, not escape routes, but like if the residents need to come out, how long it's going to be, and then just a traffic plan for that. So we started at the top of Wind River Core, and right at the top, there seems to be this outcrops of rock coming out of the ground, and we, as you can see in the image, it's been hard, literally hard rock. On the picture to the right, you see one of the workers actually spraying water with a hose on the hydraulic hammer because it's getting too hot. It's literally melting the tips of those hammers. And I took this image just to show our existing 8-inch line coming off B tank is literally laying on top of the rock. So when they installed it in late 80s, early 90s, I don't think they wanted to go through what we're going through right now. So they just literally just put it flat on the rock and just cover it. So, and knowing or saying that it's only one lane road, as you can see, we digging right next to it. So that's another challenge. So after we get the main line installed and the PRVs, we're going to move on to doing the service lines. To do the service lines, we need to have isolation valves to be able to break down the different zones, so we can minimize the shutdowns for the residents while we do the service lines for their homes. Just want to show you stuff. And with that said, I'm going to move on into paving restoration, because it seems like every road that we have gone through, we have to do some sort of paving. I'll start from the top where we are right now at B tank. So that's going to include, so Wind River is going to include a 2-inch paved full width of the road. Then we're going to go into Usher. Usher is going to include a 2-inch overlay, one lane. Then Baldwin is going to receive a 3-inch pave, one lane. Harvickson, which is little over 13,000 feet, that's going to include a 2-inch overlay on both lanes. And this is the combined efforts with the county for pavement restorations for both lanes of Harvickson. And then potentially there's been talks to push the 2-inch overlay on both lanes to Vista del Lago, and that's in the pink all the way to the left. That's outside our project limits, but we are coordinating with the county at this moment and see if we can make it happen. Baldwin, we having a 3-inch pave overlay, 3-inch pave, one lane, because during the trenching process, we discovered that Baldwin, at least the 3,200 feet that we installed in the pipe, and it's actually 2 to maybe 3 inches on average, the thickness of the asphalt. So if we do a 2-inch overlay, the teeth of the grinder, they're gonna go like a 1/2 inch past the 2-inch. So it's not gonna leave enough pavement surface to do an overlay and make it stable. So we decided to go with a 3-inch overlay, 3-inch pave. That's it. And that's all I have for this presentation. Jared, do you want to add something?
No,
Is it
I don't,
good?
unless somebody has a question.
You have anything, Russ?
One, this first photograph, this is just for my own education here. That pipe is wrapped with some fairly thick plastic. Does that stay on the pipe when it goes in the trench or not?
Yes, that's a 6 mil poly wrap, and it stays with it. And actually, once they lower the pipe and they connect the bell and gasket, then there's a little overlay from one wrap to the other, and then there's tape on top of that. So
Okay.
All right, anything else?
No.
Anything from the public? All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, section 219 grants update.
So I was filling in for Alex. He was planning on doing this presentation last week, and then had a pre-planned vacation for this week. So I'll be filling in for him. So we're talking about the Army Corps of Engineers, 219 or section 219 grants. It's the same program that Copper Cove wastewater treatment plant, the pond enlargement at the staff and tertiary treatment is funded under. So kind of the background, we talked about this project previously, but kind of the existing infiltration gallery is kind of outdated. It's in the bottom of the Calaveras River. So this project would relocate the raw water intake to New Hogan Reservoir. And incidentally, the Army Corps called me this morning about this project and then asking kind of more details. So it sounds like the local Sacramento Army Corps Engineers Division is going to recommend the project. So that's really good news.
Wow, that's great.
So kind of problems with the flooding, sediment, and algae blooms, poor water quality that we get in the Calaveras River. The gravel bed gets destroyed when there's high flows. Low flows reduce the plant capacity. There's a lot of algae that gets caught up in there's a mat that can form on top of the intake that causes problems for us. And kind of we don't have any control over how the Army Corps of Engineers releases water from New Hogan. So this kind of fits our treatment plan here. And we got the infiltration gallery where it's located there by the treatment plant. We talked about the high flow and low flow, the drought conditions that causes problems. So alternative A, we talked about here, that'd be taking the pipeline down New Hogan Road and then going past the dam, up and over an embankment and down into the lake. From there, we'd have probably 2 stage pumps, one at the low level and one up higher. So we wouldn't have too large a horsepower there when we don't need it. And we'd probably do above ground piping up the bank of the lake.
What elevation would the intake be at?
It'd be down at the low pond level. So I think a few years back, the level got really low. I don't know exactly what that level was, but there's an existing concrete dam that's built within the larger dam. So we're contemplating possibly mounting the raw water intake on that concrete dam because where it comes to is right where the access slope is. So the Army Corps used to have their own raw water supply there and a pipeline going down into the reservoir at the same location where we're proposing to put it. So there's already a kind of a, not an easement, but there's already a pathway down to the bottom of the reservoir, and that was in place when the old dam was there. So it's down at the low level water.
It'd be interesting to see what's at the bottom of the lake. I don't know if they've ever, when the last time they checked to see what elevation the lake, if it still has the same storage capacity,
Yeah.
you know, sediment, or would that ever be a part of this?
As far as dredging, no, I don't think that'd be a part of it. Is that what you're asking? So I think we could, sorry, I didn't get the question.
No, I'm just curious if it, you know, I know it hasn't been discussed since I've been here, but certainly there's sediment at the bottom of that lake. I'm just wondering what level it is, if it's how, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, hopefully we're on the opposite side of where the flows normally come in. So I'm assuming the sediment probably gets deposited on the other side of the lake. So
That dam, I mean, I've never seen the whole dam, but there for a while, that, you know, the pool, it was down to around 10,000 acre feet. I mean, it was what they call the minimum pool, somewhere around there. But you're right, I guess on the other side of the dam, it shouldn't, you wouldn't think it would be filled up with sediment, but I'm sure we'll have to look at all that stuff, you know, but.
yeah, the existing dam's kind of an interesting dam. It has various size holes as you go up the dam. So that was kind of their way of controlling the flow. So when it got to the flow into Calaveras River, so it was kind of like a drainage structure where you have different size holes, and as the water gets up, it kind of controls the flow through the dam. So
When I first moved up here, you know, in 90, or maybe it was even before that, when my parents moved up here, and everybody told me how they were, you know, God, Calaveras is a great fishery. It was dry. I mean, the Calaveras River was dry. I don't know how we got water during that period of time. I wasn't really affiliated with us then, but what did we do? Did anybody have the historical knowledge? David?
Well, there was a period of time intertime between Valley Springs PUD and CCD was used, and they pushed well water into a tank in a period of time when it was dry.
Wow, that might have to be brought up for a couple of different things,
Yeah.
you know, stuff we're talking about with Valley Springs as well. You know,
Yeah.
so, all right.
So the alternative B would be, so there's 4 gates currently that come out of for normal flows out of the New Hogan. And one of the 4 gates has our hydroelectric pipeline in it already, and they've concreted around that and abandoned that gate. So this alternative would be to abandon another gate and put our pipe in the 3rd gate. So I think it's an outside chance that would be a preferred alternative by the Army Corps, but that is another alternative that we've provided.
Okay.
And that would shorten the pipeline. It would eliminate the need for a pump station because it would all be head. So that was,
Does that reduce the hydro?
no, it would be the same flows. So it would be water that would normally come out into the Calaveras River that would be going in this pipeline.
Okay. What would be the consequence of changing that to alternative A? Even though they may not like it, it would seem to me if you called it A, that would be I can't see how that would not be the preferred alternative for the district. In installing and maintaining these low-level pumps for decades, and if you could just get it hydrostatically out of the bottom of the dam, what's simpler than that?
Yeah, I just didn't think if it was going to be like in the preliminary discussions we had with the staff at New Hogan about this project. It didn't seem like they could operate just on 2 gates, but if it's a possibility and there's some more engineering that goes into on the Army Corps side and says it's feasible, I think that would be a preferred alternative for us. Yes.
Well, it would. I mean, it's all semantics, but sometimes it makes a difference. So Is there any problem with changing that to our first alternative, A? It would be
Yeah,
$150,000 less expensive, or,
probably, yeah, probably even more than, potentially more than that.
yeah. And it would be much, much shorter going up and over and having an exposed pipeline on that, on the surface of that slope. I don't know, that. What are your thoughts?
alternatives say
They both say on here, I don't know
Well,
why that is, but they're
This
supposed to
says
be.
AA, but on here it says alternative A takes this thing above ground. He was saying there's gonna be an exposed pipeline coming up right below that, what do you call that, picnic area there where they have the parties and stuff, and then going back down in, as opposed to coming in at the base of the dam. You eliminate all that, all that above ground pipe and plunging down into the lake, and you have, how much trouble are those pumps at Lake Tulloch? When you go down and.
Yeah, we're proposing similar pumps. I don't think they, from what I understand from operations, they haven't been that big of issues. They're the vertical turbine pumps that are laid on their side. So we were proposing a similar configuration
But
here.
we're proposing two different alternatives. Are they
Yeah,
gonna,
we're proposing,
look into both of them?
we'll be looking into both of them in more detail. So I mean, as far as A and B, I think B alternative was initially we were looking at why it became B is because we thought we had to abandon the hydroelectric facility and deal with FERC in the abandonment of the facility and then not having a hydro facility there anymore, which may be a good thing or bad thing. I'm not sure. It depends on how you look at it. But that was why it became B is because, but then as we dug more details in, we found out that there could be a possibility to install a third gate that they don't normally ever use. So that's when it became a kind of a better alternative, but still unlikely that it would be approved.
Well,
But we're still considering alternative.
Yeah, we're still considering alternatives. We haven't settled on anything.
We still have some more engineering to do before we decide what to prefer.
The first, money would be for planning, I presume, right?
Yeah, it'd be, they don't want you to go back multiple times, so we tried to, and that's one of the discussions I had with the Army Corps. They wanted to make sure we had enough contingency built in there that we, if it was a few years out from being awarded, that we could have enough money in there. I think we do for the.
So it'll be planning and construction.
Planning and construction, yeah.
Oh, great.
so nobody feels like my semantics exercise is worthwhile considering here. I mean, I think.
No, I think we should talk to them and tell them that actually B is our preferred alternative, but we don't think well, I shouldn't say that we don't think we can accept it because that wouldn't be in our benefit, but.
Well, let them reject it and then go to alternative B.
Okay.
You just change the nomenclature. Then that's. I don't know. I think that it transmits to them that A is your preferred alternative. And I don't think it should be.
Okay. Yes, we'll go that route in the next discussion we have.
All right. Anything else on that? Any public discussion? Okay, where are we?
So here's the financial cost. We estimate at $14 million. So, we'd be responsible for $3.5 million of the cost. So this project was on our 10-year outlook for the CIP. It wasn't in the 5 years. So we think by the time that this comes along, we'll be in that time frame anyway.
Let's hope.
So that's assuming we don't have to do anything with the present source of water in the river for the next 10 years.
Yeah, we got a lot of problems with our infiltration gallery now. So
But that's what was in the CIP and that outlook, and
Yeah,
that
the outlook
10-year
was-
outlook was addressing the infiltration gallery. What we're trying to do here is replace that with this project instead.
All right, are you satisfied? You got your way.
Well, I got my way. It's the first time ever. Um, I think I'm hearing you say that you don't anticipate that this either A or B will be approved for the next 10 years. Is that?
No, a few years. I think it's a 3-year process at best.
I think what he meant was we wouldn't get into construction until we're out, beyond this, the 5-year financial plan that we're in right now. And based on past experience with this program, I think that is a safe assumption.
Okay, but in the meantime, how many thousands will be spent on the infiltration gallery now? Or the one we have?
Yeah, they do yearly flushings and maintenance on it, so it's, luckily, we haven't had major in the last year or two. I don't think we've had major repairs, but there's some broken valves on it right now. And I think we're down to our last valve before we're in real deep problems, so, I think that's where we're at right now.
Okay, well, Damon brought up some interesting fact about getting water from Valley Springs during that critical time. We'll be talking to them about maybe an alternate C.
Yeah, I don't think they have enough supply to
Well, I know it would be.
provide us for long term, but
If you're talking to them, you might talk to them as a contingency plan. Just saying.
yeah, that's good. I think we have an agreement. It's mainly for us to go to them, but I think it works both ways. But I'll pull that agreement up and double check.
Okay.
All right. Okay, 4F, wildlife hardening of critical pump stations.
So this one, we submitted the grant application last week. It was an exhaustive effort to get that submitted to FEMA. We went, I don't know how many meetings we have FEMA going round and round with our BCA and the semantics and the way we wrote the grant application. But we think we got a really good project submitted to FEMA. So on our CIP right now, we have Big Trees Pump Station number 4 on our CIP. To start designing next year, but this grant application came along, or this grant opportunity came along. And so we originally were looking at doing timber trails, Sheep Ranch, Big Trees 1, and Big Trees 4 as part of the grant application. But as Jessica alluded to, they're not doing any phase construction anymore for these grant applications. So they're not paying for the design and then the construction. So you basically have to get a construction grant right now. So the ability for us to design the timber trails and the Sheep Ranch pump stations, they're a lot more complicated than Big Trees 1 and 4. So there's really no way to complete the environmental and get the design up to 60% by the end of the year. So the challenge right now is to, we've already done CEQA at Big Trees 1 and Big Trees 4 because we had a tank project there a few years ago. So a lot of the environmental efforts already been done there, so we can piggyback on that environmental effort to get the CEQA completed for Pump Station 1 and Pump Station 4. They'd be category exemptions. And then the design is fairly simple because we have other pump stations that would be almost exactly like the ones that we're designing for those 2 locations. So we could handle that design in-house, at least at 60% design level, potentially with some help from electrical engineering. So the kind of scope of the project is to construct a fire-resistant masonry building with a new pump station electrical inside of it, SCADA integration. So the total cost of the grant application was $7.1 million, and FEMA would pay 75% of that. So we'd be responsible for the $1.8 million of the grant. So that's FEMA, they have a 48-month project from design, environmental, and construction. So that time frame would work well for these projects. So here we got the and the portion that was complete. We did the notice of interest, the benefit cost analysis. Also, Big Trees 1 and 4 have a larger population than Sheep Ranch has 49 customers. And Timber Trails, it just has the Timber Trails RV park. And some houses along Sheep Ranch Road. So the cost benefit narrative was more attractive for these two pump stations because of the larger population base and the smaller project cost. So you basically have 1,944 connections up in the Big Trees subdivision. So there's where the pump stations are. Pump station 1 is down in Big Trees Village, and then you got pump station 4 up in Dorrington, Amico or Bigfoot Circle. So we'd be building a masonry building similar to Dennis Court pump station, probably not with the rock design on the outside. So the original estimate, so this is where we pared down the grant application to try to attract. When we started going through the BCA and the numbers weren't working out well in our favor, and then also having to get to the 60% design level before they'll award the grant. So our water fund has we have CIP for one of these pump stations, so that would cover our share. I don't know if there's any questions on that project, but Alex did a great job submitting that application. And I think it's going to be we have a really good shot at getting a grant.
Right, great. Anything?
Yeah, Kevin, this plan or the options for this little building, it's such a tiny thing. Have you looked into getting like a pre-manufactured building that just gets delivered in a crane?
Yeah, we did that at West Point. It was a challenge.
Aren't they like super expensive?
They're super expensive. The masonry buildings are cheaper, and get up the hill to our project site
Okay.
is a challenge. And the crane, there's no room for a crane. Actually, the Reed's Turnpike pump station and some of the lift stations that our developers are building, LGI Homes is building down in for the North Vista Plaza. They're proposing the precast buildings down there. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the West Point precast building, it was a challenge to get it up to our water treatment plant through that windy road. So we've had some challenges with them.
That's a consideration. Because this is what I did for many, many years. The footing design for that thing, you could put a 5-story building on that footing.
Yeah, there's substantial snow loads, especially up in Dorrington, but yeah, it is, we, being a water agency, we do a lot more than residential, like as far as the, footings and stuff for equipment.
We put a multi-story steel building on that.
Yeah.
All about saving money. So anyway.
Yeah, the footings I think out here were like 3 by 3 by 3. So they do require some substantial footings when you're getting in some of those larger metal buildings.
Well, yeah, but you have point loads there, but this is the load is distributed along the.
Also, we just kind of rely on we don't do a full geotech report, so we could probably, we just do the worst case scenario for the ground conditions when we design these buildings, because the cost of doing the geotech, having them come in and do it versus just kind of planning for, poor soil conditions and pouring, a few extra yards of concrete, it kind of pencils out just on these small buildings to just overbuild the footing a little bit.
Okay.
Else?
No.
All righty, that conclude that?
Yes, so we'll be hearing back from probably in March on this.
All right, 4G Arnold Sewer Master Plan update?
Yeah, so the Arnold Sewer Master Plan update was in their department budget for this year as a master planning effort. So the last master plan was done in 2005 by HDR, and it needs updating. Why do we need updating now? Well, we got the USDA funded wastewater treatment plant upgrades that are soon to be underway here at the Arnold Wastewater Treatment Plant. And there's opportunities for regional consolidation through the water board. So we need to get a good plan together on that. Also, we have the Arnold Lift Station 2 and Arnold Lift Station 3 that are coming up on our CIP. So we wanted to get some guidance on, we'll do a hydraulic model for the system to determine the appropriate size to design those facilities. An INI study that'll look at our, if we need to design for those full flows or if there's INI improvements that can be made that may be more cost effective. We also, with the new project at Arnold, there's an opportunity that we may need to look at our permit for the treatment plant. So this we'll look at, right now we're just under the general permit. So there may be an opportunity that we have to change our permit there. And also being that the master plan is 20 years old, it's overdue for review. And a lot has changed in the community. I think originally they're projecting a lot more growth in Arnold than we've seen. So the proposals are due October 9th. We have a couple of people interested that we know of, but we usually get a couple more than we know about. The consultant selection will be in late October, and then we plan to bring it to the board on the November 12th meeting. If everything goes as planned, and then we kick off in December. That would allow them to get some winter flow data early in the year, like January, February, March, when the snow's falling and the starts to melt. There's lots of funding opportunities out there for these consolidations. So we have the Sequoia Woods and Mountain Retreat subdivisions, or not subdivisions, sewer plants that are in Arnold. So there's kind of similar to the consolidation efforts we're looking at with Valley Springs. There's funding to potentially bring a force main from those treatment plants over to our Arnold treatment plant. And there's a number of lots along that alignment that are unbuildable because they can't put septic tanks in because the ground doesn't perk. So there's opportunity to potentially for many more connections along that alignment. So that's concludes my kind of presentation. If there's any questions on that.
Russ?
So are you asking for an opportunity to bring this item to the board in the future or what?
Yeah, depending on when we get the proposals and when we select the consultant, it would either be immediately following our next engineering committee or the board meeting before our engineering committee. So we just want to make the engineering committee aware that this is hanging out there and we're planning on getting proposals here in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
So yes, we want permission to bring it to the board, but we haven't got the proposal yet. So
All right.
we don't know where it's going to land as far as cost and quality of proposals.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, project updates?
Okay, so I'm glad we got Chase and some of our other staff here because we got a huge list of projects we're working on. And I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. So I kind of run through them real quick, or I might as well just go through them real quick. The sewer ordinance revision. So Alex has been kind of spearheading this effort with operations. We kind of took a little bit of break on it with this grant application because there were so many revisions and work effort involved in that. But we're going to be start moving ahead with that. Construction and design standards. Many of our new designs involve materials that are not in our standard details. So we're looking at adding, revising our details for lift stations, or revising our details for grease traps. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking at changing our standards, and there's some as far as the average daily flows and that type of stuff from our sewer plants, we want to adjust that to kind of match what we're doing in La Cantera. There's a number of things that we're looking at, trying to amend to bring up to what we've been improving on other jobs. The office project, we cleared the offices out over here where our plan room was in the building here. So I think we have like $60,000 budgeted for this year to build some office space. So we kind of come through and did some preliminary sketches and drawings of what we're thinking about for the office space. So we're kind of working on that, and I'm not sure how that's gonna be structured as far as a construction contract, but it may be a joint effort between our guys and the outside contractor. Fee schedule update. Our fees are out of date for a lot of our, a lot of tasks that the engineering department's tasked with, especially when it comes to developer fees. So we're looking at that, fee changes, and then our deposit amounts are, I think they're $5,000, and that's not enough for us to, some of these big developments, they burn through that deposit really quickly. So we're looking at increasing the deposit as a proportion of the project cost, similar to other agencies do. ADU policy, we already talked about that. So we plan on bringing that to the board. La Cantera fee study, HDRs, working on that fee study. Or as based on the master plan that was adopted by this board. The La Cantera INI study, that's pretty well done, except for there's some CCTVing that we plan on doing after our new CCV truck. That's in the capital outlays approved and delivered, so that could be a ways out. Evans Pass master plan hydraulic model. We did pressure monitoring during the long weekend here a couple weekends ago. And then next, I think it's in 2 weeks, we're doing hydrant flushing. So we had a meeting this morning with Hydro Sciences, our engineer, and they selected a number of sites. Our distribution staff and Evans Pass is, Bill in particular, is doing a great job kind of coordinating and helping us select the best location to flush. So we're going to have the fire department out there while we're doing this flushing, and they're going to assist with the operation.
So Kevin, hold on, sorry to interrupt you here. There's a lot of projects on the list, so I just want to check in with the committee members, see if we want to talk through them all, or if you want to review by questions that the committee has, or certain ones that you want to focus on.
Well, we've already gone over.
Today.
Yeah. What's happening with the golden mussel?
We have a meeting this week with USA's Army Corps engineers to talk about that.
At locally?
I think this,
Sacramento.
Yeah, look, well, they come from all over, the folks at the Corps that are working on this issue, but we have been meeting, it's at New Hogan. They've been great, sharing a lot of information and working through stuff with us. They've been really helpful.
and then we have another meeting set up with the kind of the people in Sacramento too that are going to be kind of approving this more. They're, I don't know what they call them, the liaison. We have a separate meeting set up with them also.
What about the LGI North Vista Plaza? He says here.
So we got 95% drawings for the main lift station. That's the one that, so we're reviewing those drawings now. We approved the 95% drawings for they have a second lift station in there, the smaller one. And so we've been working through with Sam Bill on that, making comments. So the construction, I think they have an interesting environmental permit that they can only work. There's like 4 months out of the year they can't do any work there. So we've never come across that in any of our permits, but so they have to work, they can't start till May, so they're gonna do groundbreaking in May, get the site cleared, and hopefully start our lift stations. But the actual houses won't be built till the following year at best. So they're like 2 years out from actually starting construction.
What agency put that requirement?
It must have been Fish and Wildlife. That's nuts.
Yeah, we had
It's really frustrating.
the environmental consultant that they're working with, we had some issues with on another project, so they're.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that would have been.
I can't imagine
error, though, that.
what's environmentally sensitive over there. They just took a bunch of brush and worked in a waterway, they're right on the side of the, right at Vista Lago, clearing a bunch of stuff out. I think
Yeah.
that was, might have even been Caltrans project. If anything was gonna be, a wetter area, they took all the brush out and, scraped all the grass and everything off of it. And
I don't,
Like the culvert?
I don't think there's anything we can do about it. I'm curious how that happened, so we might take a look.
Yeah, we can dig into that and ask more questions. The Hunter's Raw Water that's on here, that's kind of got some new life to it. That's the grant funded project to relocate the equipment at the Hunter's Reservoir and increase the size of the pumps. So that's got some new life. It sounds like it's coming back. Jangling A to B, we talked about that. Copper Cove, we're just waiting on the county to approve our detour plans and Mazingo to get, they're supposed to take pipe deliveries at the beginning of October. Clearwell B tank, this one, we're filling the tank, I think starting to fill the tank today, the last tank there. So they should be substantially complete here within the month. So they've done all the site paving, all that kind of stuff. So it looks really nice down there. West Point consolidation, they're taking the sludge out of the old Wilseyville pond right now. So that's the only thing left. As soon as they break the dam there, which I think will be in about 4 weeks, and they'll be substantially complete with that project also. Pond 6, we had a good meeting with the Army Corps. They have an internal deadline to get this project kicked off. So hopefully there's some new renewed commitment to get that going. Our old secondary clarifier, we're waiting for the interim financing issues to be resolved, and then we can advertise the construction. Drought project has been a heavy lift. It's due September 28th. That's the 60% design, all the environmental documents, all the permits for a dam raise. We just got some communication back from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Kind of threw a curveball, but we're bringing the ISMND to the board next Tuesday. Lake Toluca Intertie, we finished potholing this last week out there. There was some utility conflicts that we found during the potholing, so it was really good that we invested the money in doing the potholing. And so they're doing some redesigns. AMI equipment, I think we got some delivery of the spare parts that we've been waiting on. The clay valves, next week we're installing the first one as a test with the system, and the rest should be here in October. Huckleberry Lift Station, we're just waiting for the stuff we're doing with Valley Springs, see how that pans out. Lock antenna, they're working on the 100% design. Sawmill Wallace tanks, we plan on advertising this project. When were we advertising it? October 6th is going to be out the construction advertisement. So we got money for that project. With one is being funded by our last private placement loan, Wallace tank is, and the sawmill tank is being funded by our next one. CV Development's working on their CFD financing for the Reed's Turnpike and the Horse Main. I think it's supposed to go in October. So that's really good news. That project I think is going to get funded here pretty quickly. I'm really excited about that because that's been.
It sounds like we got a lot of opportunities.
And then Jalen Elementary School, they approved our cost proposal for the oversight of the project. So I think it was like $350,000 the water board did. So we have money to spend to oversee that project.
We'll find out if they're gonna still irrigate that grass.
Irrigate the grass.
And
No.
Which grass? Oh, is that treated wastewater?
Yeah.
No, they would be, it'd all be coming to us.
Yeah, they're not gonna have any there if they would not.
Nobody wants to talk about that. It's gonna be a big deal. I actually helped get that in, me and Pat Van Leeshout. They had some ridiculous bid to get it in. We got a couple guys over there for about 30 grand to grade it, irrigate it and seed it. But I hate to see it go, but
Or is it, are they just gonna have to shift? Are they on our water?
Yeah.
They must be.
I've asked a couple of the board members about it. Nobody wants to say anything.
That's the first I'm hearing about that anyway.
Yeah, I hadn't-
Played a lot of soccer on that field.
I guess I didn't even realize they had a tertiary facility out there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why they're trying to get rid of it.
I don't know what they're gonna do about that water. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
That's all we got.
We'll
All right,
check with them.
Okay, Kevin, you mentioned some possibilities on for new connections when you were discussing about the Arnold improvements. But I'm just wondering on this Jenny Lind Elementary School force main project. This, of course, it isn't in my district, but I am familiar with the lots along that Indian Creek over there. I think that there's a wonderful opportunity for the district to do a public outreach. I see that TNS Construction, they've been identified as a low bidder for that pipeline installation. We talked about it many, many times, but I don't see any proactive movement on putting door hangers or something, or send the property owners along that alignment that, hey, we're putting in a sewer line. If you own a lot here that is undevelopable because you can't put a septic tank.
How are you gonna hang it on the door?
Well, no, I'm talking about all of the above. You get the addresses and send them to registered owners of those properties. I mean, if
I'm curious about that because typically, if a development project is planned, the planning department will send out a notice to all the adjacent property owners. Is that something that
Yeah.
we have to do or they have to do?
So the LAFCO adjustment that we sent into, I don't know if it's gone to the board yet, but I think it's supposed to go to the next board meeting. All the houses that are on that alignment will be in LAFCO. So any new development that comes along, doesn't have existing septic, will have to connect to us. But as far as.
But we could do some outreach to let them know that it's now, a viable option, like you said, if it was previously an unbuildable lot. I mean, this project is still probably a year from starting construction and probably 2 years of construction. So,
Yeah.
but
Well-
we could start.
Well, that's part of the point that I'm trying to make is that if I make people aware that they do have time to think about the consequences. I mean,
Yeah.
that seeing the equipment in the road and having them wonder what's going on here that's the worst possible option in my mind.
Yeah, well, let's talk to the school district. Really, it's not our project to like really kind of.
Maybe when we start doing it, we'll ask them to have a little meeting at Rancho.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good idea. We should kind of lead the
So
way
you'll,
on that
what
front
you'll
on
find is most
construction
of the people
impacts.
that own those lots are in a trust. The original owners died many, many years ago, and a lot of people don't even know they own those lots. I mean, I bought a bunch of those lots by just getting an APN number and calling somebody, but they're not locals. They're folks from the Bay Area. I talked to one developer down there that's putting in a couple modulars and mentioned to him that opportunity might be coming up, but a lot of them too are in the flood zone. There's other issues there, that'll have to be addressed, but certainly there are some that if they can't get a septic, they should.
But,
go down the route.
but in general, it's a good point. We should make sure people are aware of that opportunity.
Right, but it sounds also like I don't know that the school has really made this super public. Because I think you're gonna hear things about like that, those ball fields and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their plan is.
Yeah, I think they're still in their bid came in kind of like about the area where they actually thought it was gonna be a lot higher than it came in. In TNS, they're the ones just finished the tank projects for us in copper, and they're really good contractors, so we're really excited to have them.
All right.
Couldn't they drill a well? Irrigation well
For what?
for their ball fields?
I don't know what the water's like down there.
There's, in my mind, there's other opportunities, nearby opportunities for connecting to that force main. And I've mentioned this before too, but there's about probably 40 to 50 acres that is on the east side of the highway that was rejected. There's a developer from Sacramento that wanted to put housing in there. And that was back in the days of Stephanie Moreno. She said, we can't put any more houses in subdivisions with septic tanks in the design, although it was perfect soil for it. But somebody like LGI, and if they're viable developers in the area, somebody should mention that to them that.
Yeah, on
There's
Silver
58
Rapids, we put the intermediate lift station there. So you could have another pipeline come into that lift station if you wanted to. And then that'd be pumped to the lift station, the regional lift station that LGI is building. From there.
It's, I don't know what hydraulically what the pressure differential would be, but this property I'm talking about is much higher. It's 30 or 40 feet higher than down on the edge of the creek. So you wouldn't need a lift station to get the effluent down there, just gravity flow.
Yeah, to tie into this force main, because you're tying into force main, you're not tying into gravity. The people that want to connect have to have a grinder pump, like a medium duty grinder pump that has enough pressure to, you know, to kind of the back pressure, not to,
Okay. But
All right. Enough of that.
enough of that.
Hey, general manager's comments?
No comments other than remind everybody the board meeting is at 9 o'clock next Tuesday morning, unusual time for the board meeting. So we will see you there.
Okay. Russ, you have anything?
Tomorrow I'm headed out for a much needed vacation, so won't be around for 10 days.
Have fun.
Have fun.
I have nothing. So with that, we will adjourn.